there is a serious loss of life, and we will obviously determine that in the foreseeable about whether there has been loss of life on the ground. Patrick Ottman, do we know if the plane got in the air, or whether the plane, this accident, actually happened on takeoff, but before the plane actually became airborne? Do we know any details of the moment of flight?
We know the crash is in the immediate vicinity of the airport. What we've been told is it took place shortly after takeoff. From what I've been told from talking to people who are in the vicinity of the airport, they say that the crash is quite close to the airport. So it does not sound like it got very far off the runway, Richard.
Right, okay, so that's an interesting aspect to it. David Soucy is with me as well, one of our aviation analysts, to put some context into this. And while David Soucy joins me, if one of our producers can look online and see what the Havana to Guyana, look online and see what equipment was scheduled to be on today's Cubana flight from Havana to Guyana, that will give us an excellent idea, a more realistic idea, maybe Cuban media, of what this equipment was at the moment, or indeed. David Soucy, very early days, we're not even entirely sure that we know the equipment that was used on this flight, but incident on takeoff brings up an entire myriad of potentialities.
Oh, it most certainly does, Richard. And like you said, it's too early to speculate. But it could be anything from, bird strikes, bird flocks, to engine failures. It's just way too early to even discuss that type of thing. However, the interesting thing and the difficult thing right now is it's so critical in any accident scene, particularly on site, that someone is designated as the inspector in charge. So if that doesn't happen, then certain things get lost right up front, and it becomes just havoc. So what I'm curious about is to see down in Cuba who would put as the inspector in charge. They certainly don't have the experience necessary to do this, and so it'll be curious to me to see who they bring in for that position.
Right. Okay, David Soucy, whilst you're talking to me, we are clarifying this. Apparently, Cubana has wet leased an Italian 737, which might be the aircraft which wouldn't necessarily show on the Cubana flight manifest in its own right if it was a wet lease. Now, if it's a 737, David Soucy, it's obviously not the MAX, or I doubt it's an 8 or 9, so we are looking at probably an early a 300 or a 400 of the 737s.